Hey, this is Two Hat Matt. If you remember from recent videos, we got our ARRMA all rebuilt, the differential. It came out good, made a few good runs with it, and then the other night we decided to run a 3S battery, and ran great for a while, but we ended up with no drive once again. So on inspection, we found this spur gear was completely stripped out. Don't know if the 3S was too much for it or what, but so when this happens to you, what you're gonna need is a ARRMA ARA 311030 little spur gear kit here, and we're gonna attempt to change that. You can see I've removed the motor and gear case housing from the chassis, just like they say in the technical instructions when you get the vehicle. And I've also removed the 3 screws that hold the case together and got down to the spur gear. So this little guy just slides out after you get the case apart, and we're going to need to transfer over this slipper clutch assembly here. So we're going to attempt to do that. Okay. Now I've used the wrench you get with the kit, with the car, to remove the nut that adjusts the tension on the slipper clutch, and I've removed the spring also. And now this just slides apart. Now be aware, when you slide this apart, there's a little retaining pin that falls out of this area right here. Don't want to lose this. It's a little pin that retains everything. So we're just going to slide this apart, and we're going to transfer over the slipper clutch to the new spur gear. Okay, we've removed the slipper clutch from the old spur gear. Everything just slides apart when that little pin comes out. Now this is what you get with the new kit. You get the new spur gear. You also get this sleeve. So we're going to have to transfer this bearing off this old spur gear and transfer it to the new spur gear. What I'm going to do is just take a little punch and punch out that little sleeve from this side. It should slide right out. We'll transfer it over to the new spur gear. Okay, you can see I drove this sleeve out with a little drift punch. And what you end up with is just this gear here. I was not able to get this bearing off this sleeve. It's really on there, and tried everything, and I don't have a new bearing. So what I'm going to do is just reinstall this sleeve. The splines look good, so I'm just going to reinstall this sleeve and bearing in the new gear, and it just taps in. We're going to go ahead and do that and continue with reassembly. Okay, you can see I've reinstalled the sleeve in the new spur gear and just pressed it in. Like I said, I didn't have a new bearing, so I really had to reuse the old one. And now what we're going to do is reinstall the spline shaft, the slipper clutch parts, and don't forget your drive pin here. It engages. Just slide it in the shaft here and make sure it engages the clutch properly. And we're going to slide that all together and then install the tension spring and the retaining nut on the other side. It holds everything together. So we have our completed new spur gear with the old slipper clutch installed, the tension spring and retaining nut. And we're going to go ahead and reinstall this assembly into the gear case halves and reinstall that into the chassis and drive on. So if you have to do a spur gear in one of these, I hope this video was helpful. This is Two Hat Matt, Galaxy Speed Shop USA.